I was an advocacy and counseling person for Wood Green Community Center, helping the Southeast Asian refugees. This is in 1980. We saw the need of a lot of Southeast Asian refugees and Chinese who cannot speak English and cannot get legal service.
So we felt that maybe we should do something. And at the time, we knew that there were other legal clinics that serve special needs, for example, for Hispanic or Spanish speaking clinic. Not very many models of that type of clinic were around at the time, and it would be great if we could actually have a full-time clinic run by full-time staff to serve this community, which was growing at the time.
It was a new idea that there should be an expansion of legal aid, not only to various communities, but to the various language and cultural communities. And there was a need to understand why that was important, and it needed a number of us who belong to the various cultural communities to explain that the equal access to justice required a lot more than just letting people know it was available, but rather to provide the tools and the support to get that access.
And we were told, why can't you just find interpreters? Why can't some legal clinic hire a Chinese-speaking lawyer? Well, we said it's not that simple. It's the outreach, it's a place, it's not just Chinese, it's also Vietnamese, Cambodian, Laos. If everyone is equal in the face of a law or laws in Canada, they need to have access to it. And the Legal Aid Clinic has been able to bring people together, organize, and speak out on behalf of those that, by and large, without the clinic, will find themselves voiceless.
From the day we opened, there were lots of clients. We hardly had to do any outreach. There was just a general lack of legal services in those languages, in these communities. And everyone came to us, whether it was within our case selection criteria or not. And we had literally thousands of intakes a year, over 3,000 a year in those first 5 years.
It's very challenging because at the beginning we didn't have that many staff. The workload was much higher. The clinics mean a lot to myself and to the community. It's a place where you know you can rely on, and you really trust that the people who help you would put the heart into the work.
Every day, it was very exhausting, but I never recalled thinking, oh, it was such a task to be here. I didn't feel ever resentful because I felt that we were doing good work to help people. It was great to have the co-workers that I had. They were all amazing, very hardworking people. Like, everybody just had that very good work ethic, that we did the work until we got it done, and we worked and we helped each other out.
It's really interesting, the willingness of the clinic staff, the clinic director, Avvy Go, I'm thinking of, and also Gary Yee, is their willingness to put themselves out and stick their neck out in front of the issue. They would get their hands dirty. They would help individuals. They would translate for others who were doing the talking. I think it's that kind of deep dedication that really stands out for me.
The good thing about this clinic is that you never get that feeling of alienation. You really get to feel like, okay, I'm a lawyer, I'm helping people out with ordinary, like real kind of day-to-day problems. And the additional satisfaction you get is when somebody comes here, facing those kind of language and cultural barriers, even like the littlest thing that you can help with seems like magic to them.
The clinic has played an important role in immigrant and refugee settlement, along with other ethno-specific clinics, in advancing advancing a progressive agenda. For us, the value of the clinic is really in its responses and the expertise it brings to public policy. The clinic and the council both recognize the importance of working in coalition. Working coalition is one way of not only bringing the best minds together, but it's one way of getting around the advocacy chill that we're finding with civil society, particularly within the social services sector.
As a legal clinic, we're in a very privileged situation, and in the sense that, first of all, we get core stable funding. Funders don't like community organizations to do advocacy. Whereas it's part of our core mandate to do advocacy. And because of that position, and because of being a legal clinic, we're connected to the larger legal system. That really gives us that extra, power or ability to do a lot of advocacy work.
The clinic, I think, along with other ethno-specific clinics, really do serve as the pulse of what's happening on the ground. And so when we pay attention to what the clinic is seeing in terms of what the clients are saying, then it helps inform our own advocacy and government relations work.
That's the power of an organization, when it can combine advocacy with community organizing and outreach, combine advocacy with some measure of representation of a community, and networking with other groups and communities.
Language barriers is probably the easier to deal with, right? But it is that systemic racism and systemic discrimination that is so entrenched that it requires that systemic approach and that systemic efforts to address. Having standalone Chinese Canadian, clinics, the clinic or Yi Hong or should not take away the responsibility of the bigger system to address inequities.
Access to justice can vary from one group to another, and I think those are important things to recognize. And I do think that the clinics provide a very good way of recognizing and identifying what those needs might be. We've recognized the need for developing a racialized community strategy, and some of that means collecting information about clients. What is the demographic breakdown of our clients? We already see the benefits of that information for our Aboriginal justice strategy, where we recognize the overrepresentation of Aboriginal clients in the criminal justice system and also in the child protection system. You guys have a good relationship with the communities, and it's a way of us gathering information.
And so it's very important that we have specialized clinics that can reach out to those communities, that can be trusted intermediaries, that can build up confidence and build those connections that they need in order to get the legal advice and the legal services that we all need and deserve to have. And you can speak to those problems, and you do speak to those problems with policy reports, taking positions on things, influencing politicians, influencing courts, influencing the legal profession on needs that are out there and the need for systemic and systematic change. So we've created a legal aid working group, which Avvy, you're a member of, and that's, of course, doing a lot of hard work to really get a grip on how Legal Aid Ontario and the legal aid system in Ontario is functioning. And that way we can become a much more informed and stronger voice as the regulator in promoting access to justice through the legal aid clinics.
Like any organization, this clinic needs to evolve and respond to changing client needs, changing communities.
In the last few years, there have been two incredible developments with the clinic. The first is that the clinic has been able to expand its mandate on a financial basis. Secondly, we've been able to also secure additional funding to widen our mandate geographically. By the time that this video comes out, we will have rolled out a province-wide 1-800 number so that we can service folks outside of the GTA.
Nowadays, it's in terms of geography, it's extremely different. A lot of clients, maybe perhaps even the majority of clients, are in Scarborough, are in Markham, Richmond Hill, uptown area. So we need to find ways to respond to that. One of the ways we're responding for it in terms of kind of changing our role is to have more satellite clinics up in Scarborough, in Mississauga, in Markham. I mean, we need to keep what we have that's important, that's working in terms of our individual case advocacy, in terms of our public legal education, law reform work, but also find ways to expand to that new frontier and changing kind of geographical and language dynamic.
If there is one thing that will stick on my mind, is the fact that we've had really, really great staff, and they have been such great leaders, and they have led the clinic to 30 years today, and hopefully it will be another 30 plus years to come.
The change that I've seen is the recognition of the clinic, that it is seen beyond, just a legal clinic. It is seen as a voice for the disadvantaged. It is seen as a voice for social justice.
I think many Ontarians realize that this clinic serves broader interests well beyond our community because of the cases that we take on that have not only an impact on our communities we serve, but on the broader population as well.
The clinics are really a jewel in the Ontario legal aid access to justice system that we have. And they're quite unique too to Ontario. Many other, if we look to other provinces, we look to the United States, to England, the Ontario clinic system, which has been around for many years, is widely admired.
I think the biggest challenge today is complacency, thinking that if you win one case, that issue or that cause is now cleared up. In fact, over the history of the 30 years that the clinic has been in place, a lot of the same issues come up again and again. The constant vigilance that's necessary to ensure that people have access to justice is always going to be a challenge.
I think we do have the moral responsibility to take what we've learned in the past, to bring others together and bring our own community together to say, hey, let us support each other, no matter which community we're from.
Because in the end, that's what it's about. You have to help individual people in their daily lives, and the legal clinic does a great job doing that as well.